Hey everyone, welcome to another video on, I guess, my school blog, right? So, as you saw in the last video, I kind of started touching on some of the classes and stuff like that. And I said there were 7 classes. I kind of talked about 4, one of which I didn't have to attend, and 3 others that I did, and kind of gave some synopsis on them and what's up. And now I'm going to talk about the other 3. And these 2 were kind of the cooler ones of the set, to be honest with you. So let's get right into it, right? So first I'm going to talk about, actually, we had engines, an engines 1, level 1 class, right? I guess there's different levels, and we did engines level 1. And this was kind of a good and bad class. This is a class where actually COVID really did affect. Same thing, it was mostly online, and then one day a week, every 2 weeks, you were at the school. And where the big thing with this, now this is basically, you got the basics of the engine, how it's set up, how it works, and then you get to tear down an engine. In this case, we actually worked on the Honda B20B engines, which were out of the early 2000s Honda CRV. So I worked on, that was you tear down, start from the top, the valve cover, then you take off take out the camshafts, the heads, down to the pistons, take the pistons out, crankshaft, all that sort of stuff. Set the timing, all that. So that was a good engine. It's basically just a tear down, basically learning the engine, compression ratios, learning how to, the different aspects of an engine, a lot of stuff that, again, for the stuff I already do on YouTube and stuff I had to know, but, just getting to tear down an engine, which was, again, fun, right? However, what really did affect this class was that my understanding is that when you are in the school normally, non-COVID, you actually get assigned your own engine, and you tear it down, and then that's it. Like, so you would, one class you go in, let's say take off the valve cover, identify parts, measure for spec. So you have to measure for spec and all that sort of stuff too. So measure clearances, measuring wear. These engines are set with certain wear indicators, wear levels on them. So you have to try and identify those. So it was kind of cool like that. However, because of COVID and because we were going every 2 weeks, and they were trying to minimize how much engines are out there, and also there's not a lot of students because of COVID, every time you tore down an engine, you had to put it back together, which kind of sucked because then when you come to the next class, the teacher would kind of tore down. So let's say, for example, I went today and I tore down the valve cover. And then I would have to put everything back together, torque it back up. And then when I went in again, instead of being left off where I left off, because I put it back together, now the teacher went to, the professor, I should say, tore down the valve cover, and now it's ready to take out, for example, like the cams or something. So it was very scattered. You couldn't get like your own dedicated engine to work on. Not a big deal. I still had a lot of fun with it. And also you get, like, again, I think I mentioned before, you get something like 12 or 14 classes, classes normally. In this case here, it was only 6. So, they had to reduce down significantly a lot of the stuff you're doing. But there, again, I actually did pick up a few things in that class. Quite a few things, actually. It was a great class. So, that was kind of Engines 1. Then we moved into the next class, which was workplace and trade practices. And this one is kind of a cool class in the sense that this gave you the idea of how to be in the shop. So what I mean is that, how to use a jack, how to use a hoist, all the different tools and the layouts in the shop, how to do things like cutting and filing. Actually, there's one thing I was about to say it, but we actually didn't get to do it, which was kind of unfortunate. Yeah, all the different aspects. This is the class that actually allowed me to kind of identify some of the students who were experienced and unexperienced. This is the one where you got to see who got to know how to use a jack. There was one class we went in and we had to just do simple tool identification. Here is a file. Here is a Phillips screwdriver. Here's a 10 millimeter socket. Here's a 3-inch extension, etc., etc., etc. And they'd have like 6 tables, all sorts of tools, and how many of the students could identify them. And it was actually interesting because of COVID and everything too. Teachers did allow you to use your mobile phone for Google and stuff, and still a lot of students couldn't identify a lot of tools. Um, I saw a couple students who didn't know how to, not only jack points on a car, how to identify jack points, but how to even use a jack. So this was the class that kind of showed me, and again, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. People got to learn sometime. But it is the class that kind of showed me what they knew and what they didn't know. And I got to kind of get to know the students a little better there. This was also the class. So I try and play things low key. I don't tell anyone about my YouTube channel. I don't tell anyone that I have any experience. I'm going in like fresh, like I'm just like these other kids. Like I don't know too much. I'd rather that way, but because, you try and play low key, but when you know, you know. And so like things like I would go to jack up a car and I just knew how to do it. Both the professor and the students would see this, and some students had started befriending me, which is not an uncommon thing. It's happened a lot in my life. People, when they know something, they start, talking with you, picking your brain, sort of thing. So you play low key, but it only lasts for so long. So. But yeah, that was workplace and trade practice was just all about working in a shop, using compressors and all sorts of things. What is interesting with that is, again, this was a class that was online, but one day every 2 weeks was in class. And the one thing on this, I guess not a big deal, but it is sort of, I suppose, annoying, is that after every class, you have to make sure you clean every single tool, every surface you touched, wash your hands when you get in, wash your hands when you're out. Again, fine, but it does take away from class time. Like when you have to stop, 20 minutes early to start doing cleanup and stuff versus having that 20 minutes to power through the class and do extra things, it plays a part for sure. So the last one now, I don't know if other schools do this class. It's apparently a new class that they were doing for the first semester. And it's called Motive Power Pro Skills. And this class was a great class. Actually, I had a rough start on this class, I admit. The first couple of projects we had, I normally do pretty well. I'm not gonna lie, but I didn't do well, and by do well, I didn't get like A's. Please don't hate me for that I'm saying that like that. I'm not mad about it, but what it was it wasn't so much the projects. The projects, like for example, the start of the class was go onto the school website and find key items. And I'll give an example. One of the questions that was asked, this is early on, this is like the first class, was identify what you need to be able to pass the course, which is, for here, a 2.0 GPA or 60%. I'm not sure how that works in the US or other parts, but that's what it's like in Canada. And that's how much you need to pass the entire training class, not just that one class, but the whole training program for mechanics. So the question was, what GPA do you need? So I put 2.0 GPA. That's what I found. But I only got a part mark because it was 2.0 GPA or 60% is what the professor wanted. So although he didn't say GPA or percentage, because of that, that first couple projects I did, I had to kind of learn that he may ask one thing, but he's actually looking for more details and stuff. It's just the way he asked it. Once I learned that, I learned his marking style. I was able to work with that a lot better. But that's just me kind of venting and first world problem sort of thing. But what is cool about that class is this was a class that actually was completely focused on getting you to be comfortable with the trade. And they, like I said, they've normally never done a class. This was the first year, unfortunately it was a COVID year, that they did this. That's my door. That door making that noise. So yeah, it was just, I don't know how it would play out after COVID. Now it was completely online. There was no in-class to this one. And the whole idea was, what kind of tools, what kind of tools you need to buy. Do you need to buy, what you need, a toolbox, you need certain wrenches, you need metric and SAE, and how often will you use either one, and what other things you need in the trade. What do you need to do? Like getting your automotive red seal after you become a mechanic, then an apprentice, and then after you finish your apprentice, you get your red seal. What the red seal means for Canada, things like that. The whole in and out of the process, the training process, getting your hours, how many hours are required, all that sort of stuff. So these three were kind of my favorite three because they had so much information. Like the other ones I mentioned were great classes too. Don't get me wrong, and I love it, but a lot of it was kind of stuff I already knew. This was stuff, the engine ones was stuff I kind of knew already. I learned a couple things, but the workplace and trade practices and motive power pro skills, these ones really did help kind of set up where I'll be going in the future. So yeah, that kind of rounds out the whole first semester and what's involved. So again, if you have questions about this stuff, want to know information, if you're interested in becoming a mechanic and you want to ask me anything about how the process went, feel free to put it in the comments. On that, I think I'll post a couple more videos on the second semester. I'll do the same idea, just talk about the classes and stuff. And then I'll probably end the blog there until semester 3 starts in September. And then I'll probably do more of, whereas this is, I didn't think about doing this, so I'm not doing it live. I'm doing this now after semester 1 and 2 is done. But I will probably maybe do things as they happen in semester 3 and stuff, if people are interested in that sort of thing. We'll see. Seems like a few people are interested. So anyways, thank you all very much for watching. I will see you all next video.